I grew up watching the Alien franchise way too young. Like, why do I know what a chestburster is at age 6 young? I have pretty cool parents who exposed me to R-rated movies early in my life. They always explained, this is make-believe, and these people are pretending. Now check out this scene from The Thing. Cool, right? The Alien movies absolutely shaped my childhood, my teens, and probably my anxiety too. So I rewatched all of them recently, including Alien Earth, and I can officially say, I turned out fine. Mostly. Let's talk about the franchise that taught me to avoid dark and spooky corridors, that motherhood can involve flamethrowers, and that in space, no one can hear you scream. Sup, folks? My name's Johnny. You might know me as Unstoppable Buddha if you've been here for a long time and you're a fan of underground grungy hip-hop music. I've worked as a media production professional for about 10 years. Making music videos got me here, so I'm evolving my channel to reflect my reality. If you like this new approach, subscribe to my channel as I'll be uploading new videos every week. If you haven't yet watched any of the Alien movies, stop here and go watch them, because I'm spoiling everything. Let's get on to my Alien rewatch.
And they mostly come at night. Mostly.
They mostly come at night. Mostly.
So obviously I started with the classics, Alien and its sequel, Aliens. I ran through the two of them in one sitting. I've seen them many, many times. They're classics, duh. For any of you that may not have seen the original two, first off, go watch them. In Alien, made by Ridley Scott, a bunch of space truckers get a distress call from a desolate planet off the beaten path, and they go check it out. What they find are weird egg-looking things in a giant body of some extraterrestrial being sitting in a chair. One of their members peeks inside an egg and is face-hugged by, well, a facehugger, which seems to die and fall off. Said member seems to be fine and dandy until blam! A creature flies out of his chest, and it grows up, killing everyone, except Sigourney Weaver, who plays Ellen Ripley, the only person that was trying to stick to protocol. Oh, and there's some manipulation going on with a secret android that's allowing the creature to mature so he can study it and take it home for the corporation that sent them there. Part 2 ups the ante, with Ripley teaming up with some space marines to investigate a space colony that's gone dark. We meet Newt, a kid that's been surviving alone on the colony. This time, there's multiple xenomorphs and a queen, which Ripley fights and beats in the end, and she survives with Newt and Space Marine Captain Hicks. Now for the anecdotes. My mom loves the second one, Aliens, directed by James Cameron, and I watched it with her countless times growing up. I actually saw the second one before I saw the first one. It wasn't until a few years later that I saw a rerun of the first with my dad. Honestly, maybe it's just the rate of exposure and Dear Mom's influence, but I love the second one a tad bit more than the first, so let's start there. For me, it's the action-oriented approach that tied it together. I love Terminator 2, I love G.I. Joes. This was more of that for me as a kid. The fear coming from these badass space marines with guns the size of my entire body was palpable to me. I was damn near Newt's age when I first saw it, so these guys were the heroes in my eyes. But why are they sweating so much? Why are they crying? You're scared. Why are you scared? You guys are badasses. I'm a kid. I'm the scared one.
This little girl survived longer than that with no weapons and no training. Right?
Why don't you put her in charge?
Aliens, for me, is the better of the two on that alone. But the first Alien, I can't pretend it isn't a perfect movie. What I really loved about Ridley Scott's original was the atmosphere and the set design. I mean, it was the blueprint that keeps on giving. Funny enough, less than the xenomorph itself, it was the then mysterious space jockey that terrified me more as a kid. What the heck is that? H.R. Geiger's designs are terror-inducing on their own, and not knowing the full story of the giant creature sitting in that chair caused the imagination to run wild. Unfortunately, Ridley Scott decided to retcon this mystery years later with his prequel series, which I think was a bit of a misstep, but we'll get to that. As a kid, I thought the alien was too obviously a man in a suit. Maybe I kept reminding myself of that so I didn't feel too scared. It's possible, I don't know. I think they eventually nailed its design and otherness in Aliens and subsequent sequels, but that first go-around just looked a little too wonky when you finally got a good look at the thing. However, the tension in this movie and the mystery at its core must have been amazing to experience in theaters. Seeing how I was introduced to this well after may have lessened its effectiveness on me. No disrespect to alien lovers and Ridley Scott. It's still better than a lot of movies, and it will hold up forever. And side note, I was terrified of the white blood oozing out of the android. It was so gross. Anyway, let's move along. Next on my rewatch was Alien 3, directed by David Fincher, his very first feature. I'd only ever seen pieces of it growing up. It would air on TNT in college, and if I didn't have much studying to do, I'd watch a bit of it. I remember it being heavily edited, so I didn't get the full gory experience that I probably should have. I also remember the CGI looking like crap on the little 13-inch CRT TV in my dorm room. Out of the many Alien films I planned to rewatch, this one was top of my list because I hadn't seen it in its entirety. And honestly, it's not that bad. I mean, the CGI is still rough, and not much can be improved on that end. It's the sign of the times, I guess. And the story was a bit weird at first and really jarring compared to the formula set up by the first two. But once it gets going, it's pretty good. The story this time is that Ripley crash lands on a mysterious prison planet inhabited by only men after the events of the second film. She's also carrying an alien queen embryo in her chest. Newt and Hicks don't survive the crash, which is a bummer, as they were really great characters and deserved a better send-off, or none at all. And the vibe of the movie is a bit more introspective than I thought it would be. I thought it'd be just another rehash of a monster killing a bunch of saps, but the acting and the gothic set design really make it stand on its own. Alien 3 gets a lot of flack, and it isn't brought up much when people rant about these movies, but I really enjoyed it. Next, I rewatched Alien Resurrection, directed by French filmmaker Jean-Pierre Jeunet. I hope I said that correctly. If I did not, French folks, please don't get upset with me. This was the first Alien flick I saw in theaters as a preteen back in 1998. I went with my Uncle Fred, who was a young adult at the time, and a bunch of his college friends. Back then, I thought it was sick. I was also just grateful to be accepted by all these older kids. I remember trying not to let on how scared I was watching a movie like this in theaters. But rewatching it now, today, it's pretty mid. It's definitely a departure from the trilogy's vibe, and it has more of a 90s style over substance tone to it. It also has that manic energy of the MTV 90s, and it looks like a music video in some parts, which fit the zeitgeist. I had no idea as a noob Alien fan just how different it was from its predecessors. I thought it was cinema, and I remember the theater being energetic whenever cool shit happened on screen. The action sequences were cool, and the aliens swimming underwater was a highlight for me. The scene with Ripley burning her clones is ingrained in my wee brain. She eventually teams up with a ragtag group of space mercenaries, including Winona Ryder as an android, and they fight a bunch of aliens and escape. I love the humor in this movie. I love the banter between the space mercs. It was everything I needed as a preteen. I was the target audience. I was pleasantly creeped out, and I remember us having a good time watching it. Then came the return of Ridley Scott in the director's chair with the prequels that I mentioned before, Prometheus and Covenant. These two took some big lore swings, so I'll recap them together. Prometheus came out in 2012, and it follows a crew of scientists and explorers who set out to find humanity's creators after discovering ancient star maps pointing to a distant moon called LV-223. The mission is bankrolled by the Weyland Corporation, led by the mysterious and very old Peter Weyland himself. Things start off as a grand search for the meaning of life, but it quickly turns into a nightmare when the team discovers that the engineers, the godlike beings they came to find, may have actually been planning to destroy humanity all along. There's a lot of philosophical talk about creation, faith, and hubris, but underneath it, it's still a good old don't touch the alien goo story. Visually, it's stunning and eerie, even if some of the characters make questionable choices that get them killed.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Hey, baby.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb.
Alien Covenant came out a few years later in 2017, and it picks up a decade later with a new crew aboard a colonization ship that stumbles onto a seemingly perfect planet. Surprise, it's the same world where the Prometheus mission disappeared. There, they run into David, the android survivor from the previous film, who's been spending his time doing some pretty twisted genetic experiments. Turns out he's creating his own version of a xenomorph and is playing God in a much more literal sense than anyone expected. Covenant feels like a halfway point between Prometheus's big philosophical ideas and the old school horror of the original Alien. It's got a lot of atmosphere, some gnarly creature scenes, and a creepy performance from Michael Fassbender that totally carries the film. It's messy but fascinating, and it's a movie that's as much about creation and control as it is about survival. Honestly, I could rant for hours about these two movies, and maybe I will in another video, but for now, I'll just say this. They're okay. Not terrible. I mean, it's still Ridley Scott, but let's be real. Too many characters suddenly start making really dumb horror movie decisions. And what makes Alien stand apart is usually the opposite. Smart people in impossible situations. I saw Covenant with the biggest Alien fans I know, my parents. They were bored out of their minds. I like the idea of humanity's gods actually being an advanced alien species, but the movie falls prey to the aforementioned stupidity just a bit too much. I also hate that the big mysterious monster in the chair from the original was retconned in such an unsatisfying way. Big bald dudes? Whack. Then came Alien Romulus, directed by Fede Alvarez. I hope I said that right too. But that movie I really liked. It felt like more of a course correction or a palate cleanser. We went back to visceral horror in action. More tension, less philosophy. That's what brings the casual fans back in the seats. Some of us just want to see people fighting xenomorphs, man. We don't necessarily need to pontificate on the purpose of man in an alien movie. Romulus takes place between Alien and Aliens and follows a group of young colonists who try to escape their dead-end lives by looting an abandoned Weyland-Yutani space station. Naturally, the place isn't empty. It's crawling with facehuggers, xenomorphs, and corporate experiments gone wrong. What starts as hopeful turns into a full-blown survival nightmare, complete with android betrayals, acid blood, and body horror straight out of Prometheus.
Brother, what's that?
It feels like a return to the claustrophobic terror of the original Alien, but shot with a modern energy. It's tense, it's grimy, and it's surprisingly emotional, especially as it zeroes in on what freedom and survival really mean when the odds are stacked against you. So, is it any good? Yeah, I like it a lot. You should go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. But now we're here. You've made it, I've made it. Let's talk about the newest entry, Alien Earth. Alien Earth follows up on the promise of the end of Resurrection, where we were teased about Earth for the first time in this franchise. But it does something a bit different with the human characters this time around. We still follow a female protagonist, something we've been doing since Sigourney's Ripley debuted in the 70s, but this time it's a little bit different. Wendy, our protag, is a dying girl whose consciousness is placed into a prototype body called a hybrid by this evil boy genius, literally named Boy Cavalier, who adds to his hybrid ranks by placing more dying children into more robot bodies. Then a Weyland-Yutani spacecraft containing aliens from different worlds crash lands into his territory, eventually wreaking havoc on his forces and overtaking his base. And I mean alien in the general sense, as more than just the xenomorph is a threat here. Though the Xeno seems to be the worst one at first, decimating the crew of the ship and killing the inhabitants of an apartment building. But boy, does that change. We eventually meet a slew of side characters like the other hybrids, and they're all riffing off of Peter Pan and his Lost Boys, which is Boy Cavalier's favorite book. He also has a podcast about it. People are still into podcasts in the future, apparently. People are into a lot of old stuff in the future, according to this show. We meet Kirsch, one of Boy's androids that carries the tried and true trope of the robot that can't be fully trusted. We meet Dame and her husband, two scientists that care about the kids a lot more than Boy does. We meet my favorite character, Morrow, a badass cyborg that's trying to retain the cargo for his Weyland-Yutani corporate overlord by any means. And we meet Wendy's older brother, a medic that has no idea his dying kid sister is alive, let alone in a robot woman's body. The kid hybrids are all fully realized and get enough screen time to have personalities and arcs. The pacing is good, the characters are entertaining, and they have really good lines.
That boy is good.
We also meet new creatures like the scene-stealing eye monster that you probably heard about. It burrows itself into the eye sockets of its victims and takes control of its body and mind. We meet some giant bugs that suck up blood. We meet a plant-like thing that eats people whole like a Venus flytrap. The origin of these creatures are never fully explained, but discovering each's abilities was delightfully horrific. Listen, I won't rehash the entire series episode by episode. I implore you, watch it yourself, especially if you love semi-grinded sci-fi and an exciting and unpredictable story. But I do have some gripes. What are your gripes, Johnny? Oh, thank you for asking. You see, the pacing in the final 2 episodes threw me off a bit. The penultimate episode felt disjointed and sluggish. It was rather short as well, which made me a bit nervous about the final ending. I thought, well, maybe they're trying to save some big surprises for next week's finale. But the ending of the season left me feeling a bit underwhelmed. It seemed like things were left for a second season with arcs and story threads unresolved. It honestly felt like it just needed one more episode to tie things up nicely. So you're wondering, what threads, huh? Well, first and foremost, the villain, Boy Cavalier, he didn't have a satisfying end. I'm not saying he should have been killed or anything like that, but Wendy's final monologue to him, basically calling him a big meanie, it wasn't the comeuppance she thought it was. What did the kids say? She thought she ate? She did not eat. I suspected, like most people, that he was going to get controlled by the evil eye creature, but that never materialized. I thought the evil eye creature was going to be the one to control him and the company in the end, creating an existential and unknowing future for the series to continue, thus cementing the Eye as the true horrific alien in Alien Earth. She already seems so overpowered with her xenomorph whispering skills, her ability to freeze boys' androids, and her ability to control the aux cord on literally every piece of tech on the base. I thought maybe the other kids would learn some new skill or superpower, but nope, it's Wendy. She does it all. It's all a bit too much. The titular alien doesn't have a lot to do either. It made me wonder, is creating a show around this franchise even necessary? The alien is an apex predator. It doesn't have a lot of capacity within a story to be much more. It seemed like a smart idea to focus on the world surrounding this fictional creature, and I enjoyed those aspects of the series. But if you pluck the alien out, would anything have changed? There's only so many scenes we can have when an alien slaughters everyone, and we had those scenes in full. What else can we truly expect? There's no alien culture to learn. There's no alien homeworld to discover. There's no mystery like there is in the original movies. It's a killer, that's it. But in many ways, in this show, it's not even the most interesting killer. Score 1 for the eye monster. The Xeno that eventually becomes Wendy's pet, it looks different and unique, possibly because it's born from part of her brother's lung. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But why is that not even explained? Also, I love that the alien was practical for most shots, but I don't think a xenomorph works great in direct sunlight. I gave you my critique about the original alien costume and how it was too obviously a man in a large suit, but Ripley's dark and moody shots hid a lot of those details, so it's a random hindsight nitpick from a guy that didn't catch Alien in the cinema in the 70s. There were so many long shots of the xenomorph on the beach in Alien Earth, especially in the last episode, where I was able to determine where the actor's head was in the costume. It took me out of the show. The xenomorph works best when it's not constantly on screen. The fear is in its presence, the shadow, the sounds. I don't think that vibe was nailed in the later episodes. So listen, that's my take. Alien Earth works because it expands the franchise in really dope ways with new creatures, a focused look at what Earth is like under these powerful corporations, and how humanity is evolving through the technology we've seen in previous entries. But in a lot of ways, the xenomorph takes second or third billing in its own show, and that ain't right. Alien itself is a great franchise with high highs and low lows, and even its lows are really entertaining. I'm sure the franchise will outlive us all. It was a lot of fun rehashing my journey, rewatching them with you all. But what about you? Do you think Earth was any good? Do you too love Alien? Are you upset that I didn't talk about Alien vs. Predator? I don't want to talk about Alien vs. Predator. I just don't. Am I completely off base with my gripes? Either way, sound off in the comments, and if you want a Predator breakdown, hit subscribe, because that one's coming soon. Until next time, my good people, stay blessed, stay inspired, and I see you. I really, truly see you. I hope you see me too. Peace.
They mostly come at night. Mostly.